Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to quite possibly the most valuable video you're going to find on the entirety of YouTube for how to rank up in the game of Valorant. I've taken some of the most sought after advice from tons of my students that I've coached over the past 2 years now and compile it all into this video to help you guys rank up. So make sure to take your notepad out, get ready to take some notes because this video alone can save you thousands and thousands of hours of just grinding ranked. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you 100 different tips on how to rank up in the game of Valorant. Anytime that you peek an angle in the game of Valorant, you never want to peek holding your shift key. That goes for every single angle in every single map. I see time and time again players below the rank of silver always holding their shift key whenever they peek angles. The reason why you never want to do this is because every time you peek holding your shift key, anyone that's holding you is going to see your shoulder first and they're going to have an easy time one-tapping you. Speaking of one-taps, I've heard students talk about getting one-tapped all the time whenever they peek into an opponent. Anytime you're peeking angles to clear them, you always want to understand the idea of isolating and then getting out. You want to make sure that every time you peek into an angle, you're only peeking into that specific angle before you continue to peek into the rest of them. Bonus points if you're able to jiggle and isolate different angles so that you never have to commit to one single angle. Always make sure that you're never over peeking into angles either. I see time and time again players in lower elo over peek into angles and they get caught off guard and then they lose the gunfight and they wonder why they get one tapped. Anytime you come to a rope in the game of Valorant, there are 3 stages of noise that are made. The first stage is when you actually latch on to the rope. The second noise is when you're going down the rope. And the third noise is when you drop off. Now I'm going to show you guys how to go down this rope even faster and also without making a single noise. All you have to do is get close to the rope while holding your shift key, allow your character model to go all the way down, and then latch onto the rope at the last second and then drop off. Notice how I made no noise, went all the way down while holding shift, and it worked even faster. So to kind of show you in fast motion, it looks kind of like this. Again, no noise, went all the way down, super fast, guns out. Anytime you're jump spotting in the game of Valorant, instead of jump spotting where you expose yourself to multiple angles, you want to jump spot one angle at a time and one area at a time before you can clear other and deeper areas. You never want to jump spot like this. Rather, you want to jump spot the first angle first, jump spot the second angle, jump spot the third angle, and so on and so forth. Anytime you're peeking into an angle where you're going to be fighting multiple players and you're kind of at a disadvantage because you're going to be exposing yourself on a ledge like this, you have to understand that the chances of you making it out of this gunfight are very, very low, especially if they know and they're holding exactly for your peek. These are really good situations in which jump spotting becomes vital, and instead of having to commit to these fights, you always want to just jump spot instead. Yes, love that. Maybe get a stun backside. Ooh, okay, solid, not bad at all. In my opinion, my humble opinion, I do think that it could have been pretty beneficial because I like your pathing. You came here. Once you're here, you can stun backside and then you can slide. You see how easy that is? Now all of a sudden they have to worry about your stun and they're freaking out like, oh, I don't want to get stunned. And then you're just sliding on them with the shotgun. You get 1, you get 2. Who knows? Anytime you get flanked during a round, right? And the flank results in kills, you want to keep track of what the exact play was that your team was doing during that round, and you want to run that exact play back the following round and have someone hold for flank. Now this is really important because, I mean, technically you don't need to do it the exact following round, but it's easier to do it the following round because you might forget the longer the game goes on. But the idea is simple, okay? You guys did a B split last round, right? You had 3 people go mid and you had 2 people go B, right? And what happened? I think Sage flanked through A main, or someone flanked through A main, right? What does that mean for us? That means that if you can run that's like a pattern recognition that you have to recognize. Okay, when we were crunching B, they had 1 flanker. Let's crunch B again. Let's do the exact same thing. Let's smoke off top mid. Okay, let's make some noise, take space up here. But this time, let's have one guy, just one guy, you know, position at an off angle. Something like this. Boom, just holding flank. Easiest kill ever. You guys get a free pick. And the odds increase if you guys win the round. Silver players, what they tend to do from what I've seen from all the silver players that I've coached is this is how they aim. Watch. Run, 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 sees an enemy, boom. Run, 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 sees an enemy, boom. Run, 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 sees an enemy, boom. Or peek around a corner, sees an enemy, boom. Sees an enemy, boom. Now you might think, what's wrong with that, Hacker1? Why is that wrong? What's wrong with that? I don't see the problem there. All right, hold on. Let me show you. What if I told you that instead of using your crosshair as your initial point, you can use your movement? So let's say you get caught off guard by an enemy, right? You see an enemy, right? You can use both your aim and your movement together to aim at the enemy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're going to practice today. It's called movement aim. Now, a lot of people think, now this is just like a high elo thing, like you need to know this in high elo. No. You really don't. And it's not necessarily strafing either. I'm just going to show you guys how to get used to the aspect of aiming with your movement instead of aiming with just your mouse. I'm going to shoot once, then use your movement to stop at the next bot's head. Shoot again, use your movement to stop at the next bot's head, and then do it again. Now notice how I'm not moving my mouse at all, okay? And you just want to do this for about 2 minutes. I'd say just do it for about 2 minutes just to get your keystrokes warm. Now notice how even for me, I'm not able to stop exactly at the head every time. And this might happen for you, right? And it's perfectly fine. You're not trying to be perfect. You just want to get used to using your movement here to line up your crosshair. Okay, this is going to be very crucial because once you start doing this, you'll instantly notice your aim being 10 times better. Now, once you've done this for about 2 minutes, right, then we're going to add the second drill. The second drill is you're going to come here and you're going to do the exact same thing, but you're actually going to do a little micro adjustment. Now, why is this? Let me break it down for you guys. When you're taking an actual fight in the video game, right, and you see an opponent, the first thing you're not going to do is you're not going to just not use your mouse and align it up with your movement, right? And what you also shouldn't do is fully rely on your mouse only by standing completely still and aiming at the head. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you're always moving as much as possible, so that way the opponent has a harder time taking their time to aim at your head, because guess what? They're also silver, so that's what they're doing. But this is going to separate you and make you better. So how are you going to practice this? You're going to do the same thing. You're going to shoot one head, and then you're going to over movement and then readjust. So watch this. Shoot one head and go a little bit past this spot, then readjust. Shoot this head, I'm past, 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 readjust. So essentially, once you start doing this a little bit more, right, you'll eventually get to a point where you can just micro adjust while you're moving. Notice how I'm micro adjusting while I'm full moving and just full on, just moving left and right and micro adjusting, right? You'll eventually get to that point. So if someone can be here, I'm isolating this fight first. Nice. Now that you've isolated this fight, in bronze, usually people don't know about this concept of off angles. And if you don't know what that means, that's completely okay. You don't need to know what that means right now. You'll learn that as you grow and as you rank up. So the point is though, once you've cleared a common angle that someone could be playing in, then you want to focus on clearing the next common angle, which is here, right? So this is the first common angle in which they could be in. The next one is here, right? So notice how if I'm peeking like this, right, I'm not exposing myself to this angle anymore. So notice, right, how now I'm isolating this angle. Now some might say, well, when you isolate this angle, you're also exposed to this one. But once again, that's why we cleared this one first to make sure nobody's there, and then we isolate the second one. You see what I'm saying? Now if someone were to come off of a timing which is late peek it, then that's a whole different story, right? But the job is that you as a player need to do this every time, and if someone comes off of a timing, then that's just unlucky and you're gonna have to adapt to that situation. So let's talk about this, okay? When you are scaling into the site as Clove, right, you want to take a second to watch your minimap, okay? You just want to take a second and watch your minimap, see the initial ways that your team is scaling, okay? Is there a guy going right side? Is there a guy going up here, right? Once you see these initial waves, you want to immediately identify the gap. Where is the gap? Well, in this scenario, if someone's scaling this way and another guy's scaling this way, the gap would be up here, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to come up here. I'm just going to hold this. I'm just going to hold this, right? I'm going to hold this and allow these guys to scale up in these areas, right? This is going to allow you so that if someone starts running up here, it's a free kill for you. The second step for you is to also push in, but you want to just play behind someone. This is a good rule of thumb for you to follow. Play behind someone, right? If someone's standing here and they're kind of like peeking this angle, you want to play behind them, and then once they get traded, you can trade them instantly. First things first, and I always say this, once you get your ult, use it, all right? There's no point in you holding your ult, right? Because at the end of the day, you might be able to use it twice and a half, but imagine if you could use it 3 times and a half or 4 times and a half by just insta farming orbs and just insta using your ults once you get it, right? What does that mean? That means you have more rounds to have max impact and more rounds that you can actually win because of your ults. How should you use your ults? Well, on offense, the most important way to use your ult, or the most beneficial way when it comes to ranked, is to just be like, yo, let's do a 5-man site hit, right? And just bait me. I have ult. I'm gonna go in first, right? I'm gonna go in first and you guys bait me. Once I die, I'm just gonna ult, and then you guys can keep pushing in with my ult. The goal isn't for you to just run in there and knife out, die, and then ult, right? It's not going to be beneficial. The goal for you is to just kind of speed up the process and give your team confidence by taking the first engagement, right? So you're still taking your time, you're still scaling, right? And you guys can do a full man hit, right? And you're still clearing angles properly. It's just now you have your ult, so you have more confidence, your team has more confidence, and you can take more space more freely. Okay, so he did a little thing here, which is very small, but I'm going to point it out anyways, because you never know when you might need it. Okay, it's a really common thing that a lot of players don't do. So anytime you're spamming through a smoke and it's kind of unknown, like the enemy player that's here, they cut noise and you're spamming through the smoke, what tends to happen is sometimes the enemy player will be like, okay, they're spamming, I dodged all their bullets, let me see if I can get into the smoke and I can get a timing on them and swing out and get a free kill. Okay, so you don't want that to happen, right? So what I like, it's a good rule of thumb to keep in mind is, okay, I'm spamming the smoke. If there is even a small percentage of a chance that they can walk up to the smoke, get in the smoke and peek out, I'm going to spam. Hold on, let me put the smoke back. I'm going to spam, and I'm going to hold the edge of the smoke. I'm going to hold for a swing, right? So spam, hold for a swing. Spam, hold for a swing. All right, so you'll notice he's spamming for a good while, and then he's like, okay, at this point, the enemy player, either they backed up here, right? Or they actually got past all his bullets, and now they're in the smoke, and they're going to swing out onto him. So you'll notice that he instantly readjusts his crosshair to the edge of the smoke to hold for a swing. I don't know if you didn't know or if you didn't look at your minimap, but nobody's with you here, right? Flash checking is one thing. Okay, if you wanted to flash check A, that's fine, but you can't commit to A after that. Why? Because you're the only one here, right? You can fake flash A or flash check A, make some noise with your bird so that people on A are like, oh, you know, maybe they're A, but then you just want to rotate off, right? Because you have spike, you can't afford to get caught out like this. Even if you won this gunfight, this wouldn't have been a good gunfight. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Because you're not even supposed to be scaling up to this point here if your teammates are not with you. Right, your teammates aren't with you, you want to stick with them, especially if you have spike, right? And the counter to that is, let's say you didn't have spike. Well, in that case, you would not be flash checking it, you would just be lurking. You would be waiting. Once you get a good timing, you would lurk behind them. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what the play is, I just don't think this was the right play regardless, but it's okay. Let's see what he does on defense. Okay, so right off the rip, he's going to be using verticality to his advantage, right? So he's going to be all the way up here while his teammates down there. It's not a bad idea at all. He tags them up. He couldn't clean up any kills. He's full. Oh yeah, he's cooked. Yeah, he's cooked. The problem with this, to be honest, the main problem with this is just the gun choice, right? If you're going to be holding a far angle like this, it's just not going to work if you have a ghost. It's just not going to work, right? If you had a sheriff, sure. And then from here, he's just cooked backside. Did he have a TP? He didn't even have a TP, so he couldn't TP out. There just wasn't much he could do there, right? His pathing was so bad too. His pathing was just so bad here. He's getting flashed and he decides to path left instead of path right to safety, right? So he essentially trapped himself, which is very, very unfortunate. It's all about priority for him at that point. He needs to go right. He cannot be pathing left like that. Very interesting smoke, by the way. I feel like he did this kind of smoke on purpose. He kind of gave himself an angle to work with, right? He like smoked it in a way to where it's not like necessarily how most players would smoke it, like straight up flush like this. He kind of gave himself like a little bit of an angle to like look at here, so that players kind of peek out like this, and it's a free kill for him, right? So also, this is really important too, right? You can there are going to be times where you can set up smokes in your own favor, especially when you're holding, right? So you can experiment with stuff like this in a custom game too. Okay, you got comms that they're going C. He's going to give his team a side smoke to play around. Now, usually if you're going to be doing a side smoke like this, right, for your team, especially when you're on defense, it's usually if you understand that their intentions are to stay on site and they don't want to give up site. If they don't want to give up site and they want to fight on site, you can give them a smoke like this to fight around. If they want to give up site, right, then you don't smoke and you wait until everyone comes together to play retake as a team. Beautiful, beautiful. His teammates just all died. This is going to be very tough for him to win. Oh, he's kind of snappy with it though. He's very snappy. Okay. Alright. If you're on an agent that has a get out of jail card, okay, and agents that have get out of jail cards include agents like, let's say, Reyna, Jet, Waylay, Omen, right? So agents like that are agents that you can get out of bad positions easily, right? If you have an agent like that, right, and you're playing an agent like that, then this is going to be the first strat that we're going to try to use to maximize your defensive win rate. What is that? It's called taking space and inserting yourself early into the round. What this does is it gives your team early information. So I'll give you guys an example. We can start off, it can be anywhere, honestly. It could be down mid, it could be A, but I'll go ahead and give you guys a pretty solid example. C, okay. So once the barrier drops, what I like to do, a lot of times I'll play agents like, let's say, Waylay, or I'll play agents like Jet, Reyna, whatever the case may be. Once the barrier drops, I'm going to be shift walking up and I'm going to get into this corner. Now, you want to kind of limit this to at least every 3 or 4 rounds, because you don't want to be spamming this every single round, right? Because if you're spamming this and they catch you, right, you're going to die and they're going to start checking it, right? So what you want to do is you want to limit this. Limit it to around, you know, every 2 or 3 rounds, and you don't want to just be spamming it left and right. However, you might ask the question, okay, so I need to limit it, but how do I even get from point A to point B without dying? Because what if they start running here, right? So there's actually 2 ways to go about this. Now, the first way to go about this is when you're shift walking up, you have your volume all the way up, right? And you're going to be listening carefully. Typically, if these players here are shift walking too, then you're definitely going to be able to make into this corner before they even peek around the angle. But let's say that you're shift walking and you start hearing them full sprinting. In this scenario, you want to instantly turn around and you just want to get out. Notice how fast I was able to leave the situation, right? So I was shift walking, I hear them, and then I'm just instantly out. Right, instantly out. So this is one way to go about it. It's a little bit more riskier, but it does work a lot of the time, because if you don't hear them and you don't hear them making any noise, then you can essentially full commit to this and you can get into this corner, right? Now, once you're in this corner, you have so much information, right? If you don't hear anything C long, you can tell your teammates, don't hear anything C long, careful mid, careful A, and whoever else is with you on C, or if there was anybody lurking C or like, you know, playing on C, they can leave, right? They can now give it up. Another way to actually scale this area is if you have a teammate or if you have a friend, you can tell your friend or your teammate, be like, all right, I need you to hold this angle for me, right? So if they have a sniper, if they have a vandal, whatever the case may be, they're just going to be deep, whether it's like up here, if they're on elevation, right, whatever the case may be, and they're going to be holding it for you. So that way you can shift walk up a little bit more peacefully. and maybe still commit to this corner even if they end up taking a fight, because the first angle that they're going to be peeking into is this, right? And 9 out of 10 times, if they don't die right here, they're going to be fighting here, right? And they might not see you shift walking up into that corner. So that's number one, right? Taking space, inserting yourself, very important. And so I'm just showing you guys some examples on Z side, but in general, guys, every map has this, right? Almost every map has areas that you can insert yourself early for quick information, and this is definitely going to help you guys skyrocket the ranks, especially when it comes to defensive rounds, because you're just going to be winning them over and over and over again, especially if you're in lower elo, because most players don't know about this, right? They don't know about early info in the way that is being taught right now. Now that we've kind of discussed the two different ways to take early info and insert yourself here so that your team can rotate on C side, let's talk about how to actually get out of this situation, right? So first off, let's say that you are able to insert yourself here, right? And you're able to, let's say you're on Jet. I'll actually do like a whole thing on each agent. I mean, technically I could switch agents so that I can show you guys. So we'll start off with Omen, since I'm on Omen right now. So let's say I make it into this corner, right? And they are coming C. So I'm like, teammates, they're coming C, right? This is obviously a very power spot to be in. Now I have two options. Number one, I could peek like this and hold like this, which I would not recommend, because if you are able to make it into this corner, it's already under the assumption that nobody knows you're here, right? So there's a very low chance that they're going to clear it, right? So if you're already in this corner and then you hear them coming up, you want to just stay here and be quiet, right? They're going to come up here, most likely going to walk looking like this, right? Maybe they're going to skill looking like this, whatever the case may be. And your ideal move here is to trigger discipline, right? You're just going to wait patiently, get 1, 2 on your sides, maybe even 3, and then boom, 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 right? Once you get all 3, or once you get 2, whatever the case may be, right? Your next step should be to jiggle this close angle, okay? Jiggle and like shoot a couple bullets. Jiggle, shoot a couple bullets. The reason why you're doing this, right? The reason why after you get 1, 2, 3, you're not just insta-TPing away, is because you want to make sure that there's no one that's trying to peek into you, right? So that should always be your next step, is okay. You got 1, you got 2, you got 3, and then you're going to jiggle peek this angle. You're going to jiggle peek this angle, right? And then you can go ahead and drop your smoke here, and then you can instantly TP away, right? And by the way, you don't have to drop your smoke the way that I did very late, right? Once you're in this corner, you can already go ahead and drop your smoke if you hear them coming, right? Because they're not going to know where this smoke came from, right? They don't see where this smoke is flying in from. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure about that. And so you can just stand here and just go ahead and drop a smoke, right? And then you're just going to stay here. You're just going to stay here. And then they come in. They're not going to be looking at you. You get 1, 2, 3. And then again, you jiggle peek this, right? And then you can go ahead and you can TP away into your smoke and you can get out of there, right? So that is how you can get out of that situation if you're on Omen, right? Let's talk about Yoru now. Let's talk about Yoru. Okay, so swap teams, or not swap teams, end game phase, end round, blah, blah, blah. Okay, perfect. I think I'm good. I think we should be good. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about Yoru now. So how do you want to get away from Yoru? So if you're playing on Yoru, right, you want to already have your TP set beforehand, right? I'll already go ahead and throw my TP before the round starts, right? And then I'll go ahead and walk up, again into this corner, and then do the same exact thing, right? You wait for them to come up, 1, 2, 3, whatever the case may be, and then jiggle peek the deeper angle, and then you can TP out, right? So that is the safest way to do it if you're playing on a character like Yoru. However, there's even more variations that you can add to this to switch things up. For example, you could literally place your decoy here at the round start, and then you can come here, and then once you're like around this area, you can deploy it, and then you can get into this corner, right? And then right as you deploy and you get into this corner, someone's likely going to shoot it once they see it cross that angle. Once they shoot it, you can insta wide swing, and they're going to be full blind, and you can just boom, boom, kill 1 or 2, come back into this corner and TP away, right? So there's so many different variations, guys. The more you play around with this stuff in a custom game, the more it's going to kind of open your mind to like the different opportunities that you have with all these different agents to take that early space and get out alive. All right, now let's switch back. Let's switch to, let's say Jet. Let's go Jet. So how would we actually, all right, so how would we get out on what? No. All right, there we go. So how would we escape this place on Jet, right? So when it comes to Jet, it's a little bit different. You're gonna come into this corner, right? Cool. Let me actually go ahead and do this real quick. All right, so once you're in this corner, you can go ahead and pop your dash, right? And so you get 1, 2, 3, you do the jiggle, you pop your dash, and you want to smoke for yourself first, and then you want to dash into your smoke if you want to get out, right? So if you want to get out, you want to make sure that you're dropping your smoke first and dashing into it, and then you get out in that manner. So again, you smoke first, you dash into it, and then you can smoke again if you need to get out, and you can just get out just like that. Okay, that is going to conclude our 100 tips guide to rank up in Valorant. I hope you guys found this video so freaking valuable. This is so beautiful to make. Honestly, when I look back at all the students that I've coached over the past 2 years and see all the progress that they've made, all the help that I was able to deliver to them, it genuinely makes me so freaking happy. And yeah, that should be it. So